Good evening once again. I'm Steve Kornacki in for Brian Williams. Day 1,254 of the Trump administration and 130 days now until the 2020 presidential election. We head into this weekend with the country in a new phase of its fight against COVID-19. The next few weeks could be critical. Within the past 24 hours, the U.S. passed the 40,000 mark in new virus cases reported on a single day. And we are now well north of 2.4 million total cases in this country and 125,000 lives lost. This afternoon, President Trump offered this assessment of his administration's progress in handling the crisis.
We're making a lot of progress with the whole situation that came in from a place called China, you probably see. But we have a little work to do, and we'll get it done. We're having some very good numbers coming out in terms of the comeback of our nation, and I think it's going very rapidly, and it's going to be very good.
The surge in cases now engulfs more than half of all states. Florida recorded nearly 9,000 positive COVID cases on Thursday, shattering its single-day record. And just tonight, the mayor of Miami-Dade County announced that he will sign an emergency order to close all beaches next Friday, which happens to be the day before the July 4th holiday. The dramatic rise in cases has triggered a demand for testing. Near one Miami Beach testing center, the line of cars stretched for nearly a mile. Today, Florida's governor said the rise in cases was linked to residents' actions.
When people follow the guidelines, we've not had any problems. You had people that weren't following it. There was widespread noncompliance, and that led to issues. When you depart from that, then it becomes problematic. And so I think that that's been clear from the beginning. Remember, beginning of May, we went to this. You didn't see any problems. Very, very good, solid May. Beginning of June, now you started to see more. But part of that is less business than it is social interactions.
Florida has now suspended on-site consumption of alcohol at bars statewide. Texas has also made a similar move, while also putting strict limits on indoor dining at restaurants. And the Harris County Judge Linda Hidalgo has raised the COVID-19 threat level and asked residents there to stay home and to minimize all contacts. Harris County in Texas includes Houston. That is the largest city in the state. We're going to have more on the situation there in the Houston area later this hour. This was also the day that the White House Coronavirus Task Force held its first briefing in nearly 2 months. That briefing took place at the Department of Health and Human Services, not at the White House. And it was done without President Trump. That left Vice President Mike Pence to defend his administration's actions.
We now have seen cases begin to rise precipitously across the South. The reality is we're in a much better place. We saved lives. We did slow the spread. We flattened the curve.
Is there a message that you would like to send to people about the importance of wearing masks?
What's most important here is that people listen to the leadership in their state and the leadership in their local community and adhere to that guidance, whether that have to do with facial coverings, whether it have to do with the size of gatherings.
What is the correlation between the spike in cases that we're seeing in states like Texas and Florida and the way those states handled their reopening? Was it too much too soon?
In the case of each of these states, they reopened, in some cases, almost 2 months ago. And their test cases, their new cases that from testing was low and steady. Their positivity rate was low.
And Pence was also asked about the Trump campaign's decision to resume indoor rallies in Oklahoma and Arizona, rallies that have both states that have both seen increasing numbers of new cases.
You're telling people to listen to local officials, but in Tulsa, you defied local health officials to have an event that, even though you say it didn't result in a spike, dozens of Secret Service agents, dozens of campaign staffers are now quarantined after positive tests. And then in Arizona, one of the hardest hit states, you packed a church with young people who weren't wearing masks.
Well, I want to remind you again that the freedom of speech and the right to peaceably assemble is enshrined in the Constitution of the United States. And even in a health crisis, the American people don't forfeit our constitutional rights.
And tonight, the Associated Press is reporting that a journalist for the Oklahoma Watch, who was in attendance at President Trump's rally in Tulsa last weekend, says that he has tested positive for COVID-19. This afternoon, Dr. Anthony Fauci noted that many of the new infections are among younger Americans and indicated that the White House is looking at a new testing strategy.
The overwhelming majority now of people getting infected are young people, likely the people that you see in the clips and in the paper who are out in crowds. You have an individual responsibility to yourself, but you have a societal responsibility, because if we want to end this outbreak, really end it, and then hopefully when a vaccine comes and puts the nail in the coffin, we've got to realize that we are part of the process. What we're dealing with right now is community spread in the context of a substantial proportion of the people who are getting infected do not know they're infected. They're not symptomatic. They're asymptomatic individuals. What we're going to do, and we are doing, and you're going to be hearing about this, flooding the area of a community to get a feel for what's out there, particularly among the asymptomatics.
Before the task force briefing, Fauci told the Washington Post that the new strategy was something called pool testing, or testing samples of a large group, which would allow for a rapid increase in the number of people tested. That rapid increase in cases in the U.S. is being closely watched in Europe. Tonight, the New York Times reporting that the European Union is ready to ban most travelers from the United States because there is no sign the coronavirus outbreak is under control here. Meanwhile, the president is pledging to prevent more monuments from being torn down. He tweeted earlier tonight this, quote, "I just had the privilege of signing a very strong executive order protecting American monuments, memorials, and statues, and combating recent criminal violence, long prison terms for these lawless acts against our great country." Trump was originally scheduled to spend the weekend at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, but this afternoon canceled the trip. He, quote, "wanted to stay in Washington, D.C. to make sure law and order is enforced." Trump has also renewed his attacks on Obamacare, asking the Supreme Court to overturn it. Today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had this reaction to Trump's efforts.
I'm in a mood because this is a matter of life and death. And this administration has failed miserably. 2 days in a row of record numbers of cases. Same one of those days, the president going to overturn access to quality, affordable care.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.